and have all money be on those chips and everything on those chips. And if anybody wants to protest what we do or violate what we want, we just turn off their chip.
Hitting with a baton a man while other officers hold that man down.
Change we can believe in. I didn't say change we can believe in tomorrow.
Есть серьезное основание полагать.
Аллаху Акбар! Аллаху Акбар! Аллаху Акбар!
We saw these individuals buy or begin turning up at crime scenes in the United States and in Mexico, and yet we still did nothing.
So why was he inaccurate? Why can't we keep our health care plans if we like them?
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
Hi there, welcome to the Fire Report. I'm your host, Dwayne Risco. Tonight's show is today's news, number one. That's the topic of tonight's show. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the videos that you are about to see tonight should cause a great deal of emotional stir within you. You're going to see some videos that mainstream media, again, does not dare show you. But that's why in the Fire Report, we bring these things to you. You're going to see some new police weapons. You know, why do police need some of these modern technology weapons? Why are they advancing so much? After all, police are supposed to help us, protect us, but now it's more of keeping the law in control, law and order. Whatever happened to protect and serve? Somewhere along the line throughout America, we're missing this. We're becoming a totalitarian police state. Orwell, 1984, Big Brother on the rise. I want to show you some videos tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that should open your eyes to what's really going on in America. On our last show, we talked about we are blowing through this 21st century at a record speed. Things are taking place overnight. Remember, our emperor, President Obama, talks about changing forward. Where, folks, tonight you're going to see some videos. You're going to start understanding a few things of what's really going on. You're also going to see a video called The Beginning of Sorrows. You know, America is really hurting in many places from disasters, loss of life, loss of freedoms, fires, and whatnot. The beginning of sorrows are taking place. We see rebellion and riots and rage and anger and violence. Where is this coming from? In the past 10 years, society and our culture is changing. Our games on TV for children is kill, 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 violence, murder. Everything advertised on TV is kill, 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 kill. All the games, all these new things. The world is full of hate and violence. We are beginning to see the beginning of sorrows. You're also going to see another video called Major Events in the New World Order. Yeah, remember Bush Sr.? The New World Order. We're heading for a new world order. The world is ever changing. We're talking about the global community, the new world order. One, all together as one. Put our differences aside. Let's do away with sovereignty and let's become a new world order. Well, what does this new world order involve? What does it involve you with? Is it a cashless society? Is it a microchip in your right hand or in your forehead? Is it our watches listening to us, monitoring us? Is it our cell phones, our smartphones, our computers? Are they listening to us? Our new TVs that we've got. Some have claimed that they can listen to us as we talk in our homes and recorded by the NSA. Remember what Snowden said? Hey, the new world order. You're also going to see Obama's plan to take over America. Now, I know some of you find this so hard to believe because you've been dumbed down. You have a Marxist, socialist, communist president. Look at all his groups that he associates himself with. Look at who's behind his administration. Look how every time they're caught red-handed, first time I've heard about it. I don't know about it. I just found out about it. We'll get into it. We'll investigate it. Meanwhile, are all these things just happening that they have no idea what's going on? Is everybody in the Obama administration brain dead? Is Eric Holder, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, Chucky Schumer, Hillary Clinton, are they all not know what's going on? All these highly sophisticated people that are highly educated. You mean to tell me, oh, first I heard about it. No, I don't. Do you really think, or could it be something more? I know. Risco, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, that's what they want you to believe. Every time we come out, Alex Jones, Ernie Sanders, Tex Marsh, Clifford Parks, Mark Valeni, Derek Nolan, whenever they come out and we talk about these things, conspiracy theorists. Why do they holler that right off the bat? So you don't pay attention. So you laugh at us, turn us off, and keep going about your own business and don't pay attention to what's really going down. Again, let's find out, did Obama get elected? Did the powers to be, beyond anything we can imagine, was he brought in to bring America down? Did he cut the deficit in half? Did he not promote homosexuality throughout America? Is he not a champion of abortion? Is he not a gun advocate, want to take our guns away? You tell me. Watch the video and start opening up your mind. Also, you ever hear about devil worship? You know, all through America, California, Salem, Connecticut, and whatnot, there's been Satan worshiping going on. But it's a lot of it covered up. Do you see anything from MSNBC, CNN, NBC, even Fox, who I enjoy very much, Sean Hannity, Megyn Kelly, Greta Van Susteren, even O'Reilly? Do you hear anything, any programs about Satan worship, satanic worship, devil worship? It goes on in every single community in America, folks. Across the globe, Satan worship is big. Did you know that even within political powers and administrations in government, they have secret societies to where they give oaths to Lucifer in order to get power, to get put in certain positions? Now, I know for many of you, it's hard to believe, it's hard to fathom, because your mind is uneducated in that areas. But doing many research for years, we have found out that the God of this world is Satan. Many worship him as the Masons, Lucifer. They get, as they go up in ranks, a 33-degree Mason gets enlightened from who? The light bearer, Lucifer. And how many of your churches have Masons in their church? Luciferians is what they are. Luciferians in government. Luciferians in the military. Luciferians everywhere. Check out these programs. My name is Dwayne Risco. Thank you for watching the Fire Report. Until next week, check this out. Thanks for watching.
But it's not so much the troops over there, it's the police state at home that has me the most concerned. New police compliance weapon blinds its targets. Shield Defense Systems, LLC, a company based in Reno, Nevada, is currently developing the Zero Retinal Obfuscation gun. According to the firm's website, the weapon obstructs the target's vision temporarily for 10 to 15 minutes. And this is another step in non-lethal compliance, or quote non-lethal compliance, because whether it's tasers or pepper spray or noise cannons like we experienced in Ferguson, Missouri, these things can be really harmful to people. Let's take, for example, pepper spray. So let's say you come in contact, you're the police officer, you come in contact with somebody who has asthma and you hit them with the pepper spray or the tear gas. This could have very serious, if not lethal, effects on this person, even though it's touted as being a non-lethal deterrent. Same thing with tasers. We've seen reports of people being tased for non-compliance. We've even seen people tased for having a seizure. Now, understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the person got tased and then had a seizure. No, they had a seizure to begin with and then got tased for non-compliance. Another situation that happened here in Austin, right outside the city of Austin in Bastrop, a young man broke up a fight and then got tased for his efforts, fell down, busted his head open, now has permanent brain damage. They didn't kill him, so I guess it was non-lethal compliance, but yes, this had a serious health effects on this young man, and they need to have the proper training for all these armaments, from pepper spray to nightsticks to tasers to whatever else, to make sure these things do not have a permanent, lasting impact or damage on the people that they're used against. And something that's damaging the Second Amendment, Facebook bans gun owners, allows kitten torture video. Recently, a video was posted on Facebook showing two men lighting a helpless kitten in a bucket on fire. But after multiple users flagged the video, Facebook told them it doesn't violate our community standards. A few days ago, a gun rights activist, Jerry Emery, was banned from Facebook after sharing an article explaining the ways in which Connecticut's gun ban is worse than Hitler's gun ban. Facebook said Emery's post, which included an image stating that gun control helped make the Holocaust possible, doesn't follow Facebook community standards. And there's nothing new about Facebook. We all know their, censorship, selective enforcement, and all that jazz. And yes, it is their site. They can do what they want, but they promote it as a public commons. They often censor our videos here at InfoWars. We have some, I guess more sensational videos like Joe Biggs crossing the border with a dummy severed head, and they banned that video. But we also have videos that are very tame that Facebook says, no, we don't want anything to do with that. So, it's Facebook, they do what they want to do. I try not to be too engaged in it. I do have a Facebook account that I rarely use. To me, Facebook's just pretty much a big Rolodex at this point. If I haven't talked to somebody in a couple of years, I may go ask for the phone number and give them a call. But that's about it, my extent of activity on Facebook. Because I always try to keep my online activities, to a minimum. I don't like having this digital fingerprint, so to speak. And now you can get around this thing because now you have the technology to block things like Google Glass and also drones from using your Wi-Fi apparatus. And this is a technology brought to you by Cyborg Unplug. It's billed as a wireless anti-surveillance system. Unplug is essentially a portable router that can detect drones, surveillance cameras, and mobile tech like Google Glass trying to access your Wi-Fi signal and then boot them off of it, which is great because you may have a coffee house or some other establishment that has Wi-Fi capabilities, and you say, hey, I don't want all these glass holes in here, so they try to connect with the Google Glass, and then you kick them off of it. And now something that just, kicked me into, I guess, a tizzy, so to speak, made me kind of laugh and think about the state of our country. Apple Pay. You can give the finger to Apple now. Users can make purchases with a simple touch of a finger. Because you remember with the last iPhone, they got you used to the notion of using your fingerprint to unlock the phone. Now they're saying you can pay with the touch of a finger. The new feature allows special tokens to be used for purchases after a credit card has been securely added to the phone. According to Apple, actual credit card numbers are not stored on the device itself. Now, we're in a world, just recently we've seen the big celebrity hacking scandal. We've seen other things happen with these phones and these technologies as well. Last week I talked to a gentleman, a security expert with cell phones, and he was telling me something that we already know here at InfoWars, but he just reiterated that people can listen to your cell phone conversations in real time. And I say, sir, what you just told me most people consider to be a conspiracy theory. He said, oh no, this is not a theory, conspiracy, or otherwise. This is real factual information. He said, with the proper technology, I can listen to your conversations in real time. With the proper technology, they can hack into the iCloud and steal all your personal data and information. So you got to be careful when you use any of these things. But if you're going to get online and you have to do it, I suggest you go to prisonplanet.tv and get yourself a 15-day free trial. You can get the Alex Jones Show, the nightly news, the special reports, the rants, and so much more at prisonplanet.tv. Now stay tuned because after this break, we'll have a special report from John Bound detailing new information on the Ebola outbreak, and I'll have a new report detailing things that are too Napoleon Dynamite for even the real world. And finally, one of our producers, Buckley Hammond, has new reports about surveillance technologies and statues. Stay tuned. This is the InfoWars Nightly News.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
As the last days of summer wore down, wherever Americans gathered over this past holiday weekend, on beaches, on boats, blankets, front porches, if and when the conversation turned serious, it was about the sensation right about now that our world is falling apart.
Civil unrest in Pakistan. Riot police fire rubber bullets and tear gas at demonstrators in Islamabad, injuring dozens.
Terrifying video out of Libya this morning. A fighter jet slammed into a busy neighborhood yesterday in Tobruk near the Egyptian border. 3 people died, another 9 were hurt.
Amateur video shows alleged Russian battle tanks moving into southern Ukraine. In the last 24 hours, up to 1,000 Russian troops with heavy weapons moved into the area, according to U.S. military intelligence. Russia also moving in with armored vehicles and multiple rocket launchers. The Polish foreign minister calls it the most serious security crisis in Europe in decades.
And we turn overseas now to that stunning video out of Libya tonight. 3 years after Americans helped take down Muammar Gaddafi, the country is in chaos.
Empty ever since American diplomats evacuated at the end of July, as Libya descended even farther into chaos. Libya is now on the brink of becoming a failed state, with militant groups fighting each other for control as the government looks on helpless.
Syria's civil war continues to spill over towards Israeli-held territory, with reports of President Assad's jets shelling rebel positions close to the occupied Golan Heights.
It is not just American citizens fighting alongside ISIS. British citizens are doing the same.
Hundreds of young men who have left the UK to join the brutal terrorist group ISIS. They see themselves as defenders of Islam in a war against non-believers. Their barbaric tactics have been glamorized on social media, a powerful recruitment tool that British authorities are now trying to crack down on. With every victory on the battlefield, ISIS's appeal grows, and many are concerned that it is only a matter of time before their jihad spreads beyond the Middle East.
This is a message to Canada and all the American Tawaghi. We are coming and we will destroy you. We are going for you, Barack Obama.
Ukraine and Russia, civil war in Syria, the threat of a brutal so-called caliphate across the Middle East. It seems like the world we're living in is slipping out of control.
The Ebola epidemic is spiraling upward. That's what the director of the Centers for Disease Control will tell Washington tomorrow.
It is the world's first Ebola epidemic, and it's spiraling out of control. It's bad now. It's going to get worse in the very near future. There is still a window of opportunity to tamp it down, but that window is closing. We really have to act now.
Health alert, more than 1,000 children sickened by a rare virus that starts off like the common cold, but sends some kids rushing to the hospital when they can't breathe. Here's that map of the 10 states hit so far by this mystery illness. Doctors say there will be more.
A potentially deadly mystery virus is spreading across the country.
Ebola outbreak that can't seem to be contained. Today, World Health officials said that the outbreak in West Africa is racing ahead of efforts to control it. The number of people infected with Ebola keeps growing.
In the capital, chaos and panic is leading to desperate measures. Unable to control Ebola's spread, last week the government quarantined an entire slum, home to 75,000 people. As the quarantine order sparked violent riots, residents were unable to leave. For the past 5 months, Ebola has ravaged Western Africa. 1,400 have been reported dead, 2,600 infected. The outbreak has struck several countries, the worst of it here in Liberia.
The worst outbreak in history has killed more than 1,500 people and infected thousands more across 4 countries.
This is incredible. You know, seeing a truck cart away 10 bodies of people who died from Ebola, I can't imagine what someone is thinking who has arrived there for treatment. You know, it's the gates of hell.
What we have to be very careful about, Neil, is that, and we must understand, is that ISIS is desperately trying to get the United States involved in a war that is advantageous to them. And the reason they want that is because there is an Al-Hama. Al-Hama means Armageddon, the end game, and many end time. ISIS, if not most, believe that that end times is coming between 2016 and 2020.
This is beyond anything that we've seen, so we must prepare for everything.
This is an organization that has an apocalyptic end of days strategic vision, and which will eventually have to be defeated.
ISIS is everywhere, according to the federal government, right? I mean, we're worried about them coming over to the United States. Texas is suggesting that ISIS can come through Mexico. And actually, there's a couple of folks who are worried about whether or not ISIS will attack the electric grid, claiming that they may team up with drug lords down in Mexico. Can you just imagine what would happen if they blew up the East Coast grid?
And I don't want your Sharia law, and neither does anybody in Great Britain that has a
you
break.
will have no choice, in fact, Sean. It's coming to a place near you. It's coming to a place near you.
So you're threatening to come and get me, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the Sharia will be implemented in the whole world.
Sharia is, so that's what you want. You want that, thank you, you answered my question. You want a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
Of course we do.
You want a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
One of Oklahoma's senators says the rise of ISIS and other violent terrorist groups is putting our country in a dangerous position. Fox 25's Phil Cross sat down with Senator Jim Inhofe, who says the public needs to know how real the threat is for a new attack on American soil.
We're in the most dangerous position we've ever been in as a nation.
Senator Jim Inhofe serves as the ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee and says our country has never been in such a risky position, especially from new terror groups like ISIS.
They're crazy out there, and they are rapidly developing a method of blowing up a major U.S. city, and people just can't believe that's happening. But yes, it's really significant what's happening.
These ISIS terrorists are the evil of all evil. Am I right?
Oh, they are the antichrist of terrorist organizations.
They should know we will follow them to the gates of hell until they are brought to justice, because hell is where they will reside.
What is the thing that concerns you most about what you see in the world at the moment?
Well, I think it's the dangerous unpredictability of a world that is, I think, trying to define a new world order. We've never seen such diffusion of economic power. More people have more say, as it should be. We are seeing a new world order being built in the early 21st century. The United States of America has some responsibility to help lead that. We can't dictate that order, nor can any country, but we can help shape it.
The leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, has praised the Palestinian resistance movements for standing strong against the Israeli military during the recent 50-day war on Gaza. Ayatollah Khamenei added that Iran's Islamic Revolution was the most important element that challenged the world order. The leader said the world is today witnessing a new order. The leader also noted that Iran should become more powerful to play an effective role in the world's new order. President Obama made it clear today the U.S. goal with the Sunni terrorist group known as ISIS is not to contain it, but to destroy it. He said so at the NATO summit in Wales. The president did not reveal a new strategy, but he did say that a coalition of 10 nations has agreed to take on ISIS militarily and financially.
There was unanimity over the last 2 days that ISIL poses a significant threat to NATO members.
10 countries, including the U.S., UK, France, Australia, and Turkey, will work to degrade ISIS with military force, political pressure, and by squeezing its finances.
President Obama wrapped up a two-day NATO summit yesterday with a news conference. NATO announced plans to create a rapid response force based in Eastern Europe that could quickly mobilize if a NATO ally gets attacked.
You're dialing. You ever wonder who's listening? A new report says that cell towers, fake cell towers, are sort of cropping up out of nowhere across the country. And these things can intercept your cell phone data, calls, data, you name it.
18 of these rogue cell phone towers right here in the United States.
But who's making them? Whose rogue towers are they? I guess they're not legitimate. They're not a Sprint or Verizon tower.
You're exactly right. Right, that's an excellent question, and here's why. Because so far, nobody is laying claim to the ownership of these towers. Now, here's what's really interesting. The viewers will find this very interesting. These towers that's been identified so far, they've been very close to military installations right here in the United States.
It's a program under fire. Military leftovers going to local police departments.
And now the I-Team has found some of that equipment. We're talking about high-powered guns built for the battlefield are in Texas schools.
He started shooting everyone in the cafeteria.
Columbine, Sandy Hook, the images are forever burned into our minds. The threat
something police nationwide train for, with vehicles, guns, and armor built for the military. State records show 10 Texas school police departments received military surplus equipment through a Department of Defense program.
Being new to the city, I don't know where I can and where I can't go.
This man, who asked us not to identify him, was on his way into Kroger Saturday night when he saw a large crowd in the parking lot. He thought they may be part of a flash mob. Laughter as they knocked out a 17-year-old employee, kicking him in the head and throwing pumpkins on top of him. He says several employees were filming the incident, but one man, seen at the end of the video knocked out, stepped in to defend him and the teen.
But when we get through being up in arms about it, Ernie, it's the tip of the iceberg, man. This didn't just materialize overnight, and I guarantee you, just as Earl just referred to, it wasn't the first time it's happened in Memphis. It was the first time we now see it on such a large scale.
Worldwide, planet-wide, biblically speaking, two groups of people, the children of God, and the whole world is under the control of the evil one. That's 1 John 5:19. Ephesians 2 said, look, the evil one works in those who are disobedient. Now listen to this. On this ISIS thing, all who hate me love death. So you scratch your head and you say, well, why is it that when we're not even over there in the Middle East, why do they continue to slaughter each other when we're not even on the premises? They can't blame us. We left Iraq. You say, what happened? In Egypt, in Syria, you say Libya. They just slaughter each other. You say, what? All who hate me love death. And he said they hated me, and it was predicted from the prophets, they hated me without reason. And then he told all of us, like they hated me, they will hate you also. They will hate you, he said, when that comes, and when they exclude you, when they insult you, and when they reject your name as evil because of me. Jesus said, listen, rejoice, be happy, because great is your reward in heaven. What people fail to understand is coughing up sin and confessing it and giving it to the only one who can remove it, for crying out loud. We're all sinners. America, here's a news flash. All of us have sinned, every last one of us.
Well, imagine a police officer saying you don't have to follow the Constitution. Well, Officer Richard Racine of Helmetta, New Jersey, resigned today after a video was posted online telling a local resident he doesn't have to follow the Constitution because President Obama doesn't. Well, Helmetta resident Steve Ronco was called in by local police for taking photos outside the precinct and insists, to the police anyway, he insisted he had the constitutional right to record in a public place.
Under New Jersey law, with the alarming and all that, I don't fall under alarm because I'm in a public building recording, which is my first and second.
You know what, I really don't even care about that because Obama has decimated the freaking Constitution. So I don't give a damn because if he doesn't follow the Constitution, we don't have to.
There is a new report that shows the greatest threat facing this country is right here at home. There is a new study out from the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, better known as START. Now, START is a government program funded by the Department of Homeland Security. They're supposed to know the threats. START believes the greatest potential threat to America is the sovereign citizen movement.
America better wake up if we're going to live in this country with any kind of freedom and liberty.
The video now under the microscope. Guests at a popular casino resort roughed up by hotel security. The disturbing images caught on tape some time ago, raising questions now.
With guests claiming they were badly beaten, stomped on, and roughed up after disagreements with the staff of one of the biggest hotels here, Harrah's. Watch what very few would consider to be good hospitality.
They grabbed him and just slammed him to the floor.
Then, as mother Renee and daughter Andrea headed away from the scene toward their room, security swooped in to stop them. First, the teen daughter is wrestled to the ground and handcuffed, and then mom brought down and dragged off. by a man in shorts her lawyer says is the casino's head of security.
Well, Brian Ross, ABC News.
But its director of security, Doug Rule, would not answer any of our questions.
Sir, we're not allowed to comment on any of this. Do you think this was appropriate, Mr. Rule? Did you go over the line?
A group of women say their rights were violated when they were stopped from praying at the Dublin Mall.
All my life I've come to this mall, and I don't think anything could offend me more than asking me not to pray.
Tammy Brantley is the leader of Dublin Girls Run, a group that's been walking and praying at Dublin Mall every Tuesday evening since last November.
The prayer is never loud. Sometimes it may be long, but the only way you can hear is if you actually get into the circle that we all form.
But she says that all changed 2 weeks ago.
We were out getting ready to do our prayer, and as we were bowing our heads, the security guard walked over and asked us not to pray.
Brantley says the guard explained that prayer wasn't allowed in the mall. He said that even included praying before a meal at the mall's food court.
We never in a million years thought that this kind of behavior would come here. And it's here.
A federal judge agrees a monument displaying the 10 Commandments in front of a New Mexico City hall is a violation of the First Amendment. It's a result of a 2-year-long lawsuit. Now the city must remove the 3,000-pound monument.
This is clearly not a historical document, but is in fact a religious doctrine.
The court acknowledged the 10 Commandments have, quote, secular significance in the country's heritage, but says the city violated the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment when government officials endorsed a religious message.
Well, Baltimore City's new curfew rules go into effect tonight. They are some of the strictest curfew guidelines in the country.
Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake getting a first-hand look at where police will take curfew violators. The Lillian Jones Recreation Center is well equipped to keep kids occupied. The children will also be evaluated by social workers.
Baltimore's updated curfew laws being met with opposition, skepticism, and angst.
It is a bit of an overreach.
Former police officer Garland Nixon is a board member of the ACLU.
We have reached out continuously to the city for details, for policies regarding how law enforcement officers interact, when they can they chase the children if they run.
The City Department of Social Services will be notified. Supporters say this is not about locking up kids. The goal is public safety. But studies indicate there's no correlation between curfew laws and a reduction in crime by or against juveniles.
Now, City Hall hopes to expand the number of these centers from 2 until 9 and go from weekends only to 24/7 year-round.
Well, some video gamers are outraged tonight over a brand new policy by the retailer GameStop. Anyone who wants to sell their used games at the Philadelphia stores will have to provide a fingerprint. The chain says it's following a Philadelphia law that allows the stores to collect thumbprints, then put them into a database to help police track down thieves.
And turning now to health news that could have a big impact on your life and your family.
Researchers with a biomedical technology company and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, are currently testing a contraceptive with wireless capabilities. It is a microchip that is implanted under the skin and can deliver tiny amounts of hormone like a birth control pill. Some experts point out that women already have implantable birth control options like the IUD, but many still choose the pill. Researchers plan to test this technology in women in 2016. The device would cost around $1,000. We'll have more on this story ahead today on Local 12 News at 5:30.
Open up your mailbox someday soon and you find a new credit card marked with a microchip. Credit card companies are making the move to protect all of us from hackers.
Well, credit card companies say that a microchip on your card is a better way to store your information and to keep you safe. A lot of these big name retailers are switching over to the microchip scanners.
You say you think most big stores are accepting the chip technology, but not all yet?
Well, I think they're switching over to it. I think it's going to be a process. I read something earlier tonight that said that credit card companies are telling stores to really get ready for this by the fall of 2015.
New at 6, it weighs 60,000 pounds. It's an armored tank designed to protect troops in a war zone. So what's it doing in Redwood City? Critics are crying foul. They don't want to see it on the peninsula.
It's big. That's the first thing that struck me.
It's hard to miss. 60,000 pounds and 13 feet tall. The bulletproof armored vehicle is a hand-me-down from the military. It has a new coat of paint, property of the Redwood City Police and SWAT team. It's part of a program where surplus military equipment is given to local law enforcement agencies.
It's simply a way to move our officers around in a protected environment and possibly evacuate civilians and people in emergency incidents.
It's called an MRAP. It stands for Mine Resistant Ambush Protected. Holly Lezo calls it unnecessary. She thinks war equipment has no place in Redwood City.
Is this a dangerous place that we're in that they need that? Like, is there something they're not telling us?
SWAT teams have been a part of crime fighting for decades, especially trained officers who, in addition to their regular assignments, respond immediately to the most dangerous crime scenes. But IMPD is no longer using a part-time SWAT team. Its team has become full-time.
Chief High came to me a few months ago and said that he thought it was time for Indianapolis to have a full-time SWAT team to deal with some of the high crime areas that we have.
Riggs gave the go-ahead.
It's up and running. They're using them quite frequently throughout the week.
And they work the so-called hotspot areas in the city. Director Riggs says full-time SWAT officers are prepared in a way that other officers are not.
Now to the battle over your Second Amendment right, with one judge saying Americans have no right to carry a gun beyond their own doorstep or their house.
2008 bill, the Supreme Court said Americans have a fundamental right to keep and bear arms, but some states are trying to limit that decision, saying the right to own a gun ends when you leave the house.
Rioting in a St. Louis suburb, police using tear gas to break up looting overnight. All this after a police officer shot and killed an unarmed teenager.
Overnight, on fire and out of control.
It's a free-for-all here.
North of St. Louis, thieves ruled the night, ransacking local businesses. Police armed with riot gear couldn't keep up.
We're out here at Quick Trip with him.
Watch as people of all ages loot this convenience store and then burn it down.
Fired Solway and Ellison.
This tire store was one of several businesses that were broken into. People taking tires, hubcaps, and car rims. Protesters faced off against police in riot gear. Dozens were arrested.
Our helicopter got shot at.
It's not clear what led to the police shooting Saturday afternoon. Brown was walking with a friend to his grandmother's in this predominantly African-American St. Louis suburb when his friend says the police officer drove by and told them to get off the street. Several shots were fired. Brown hit more than once. Police confirmed the teen was unarmed.
It's just the tip of the iceberg. The world's descending into chaos.
With the world's attention fixed on the crises in Gaza and Ukraine, Syria has faded from the headlines. Pretty incredible when you consider Syria just experienced what might be its bloodiest week of fighting since the civil war began 3 years ago.
Morning's headlines. USA Today says Russian bombers increased flights around American airspace. A U.S. Air Command official acknowledges Russian strategic bombers and other military aircraft entered air defense zones 16 times in the last 10 days. Fighter jets scrambled several times. The spike in activity comes amid the crumbling relations between Russia and the West over Ukraine.
The Centers for Disease Control tonight elevated the Ebola virus to level 1 status, and here's what that means. It's their highest level of mobilization reserved for their largest scale response, requiring an agency-wide effort because the outbreak is now officially out of control, and this is a major escalation and a big measure of the fear of it spreading around the world.
In Liberia, contaminated bodies are being dumped in the street.
That it's out of control in the West African countries.
Now to the deadly Ebola outbreak and the concerns around the globe. The World Health Organization this morning declared an international public health emergency. It says countries simply cannot control the spread. This outbreak is the largest ever.
I do think Ebola will come to America. That's not a question of if, it's just when.
In the film 2016, I advanced what seemed to be a kind of outlandish theory about Obama, that Obama had imbibed the anti-colonial philosophy of his dad, Barack Obama Sr. And this anti-colonialism shapes Obama's worldview and helps us to predict what Obama is going to do. It not only explains what he is doing, but it allows us to foretell and anticipate things that he's going to do. In the film, we made some fairly specific predictions about Obama, and this is not a bad time to review those predictions and see if they have in fact come true. So one of the predictions is that Obama would spend money promiscuously to raise the debt in virtual indifference to the impact of the debt on American citizens. In fact, Obama has been racking up the debt at the rate of $1 trillion a year. The debt has doubled in Obama's term in office. So Bush was a big spender, but even in his most profligate days, Bush was spending $500 billion. Obama has doubled that on an annual basis. The country is now almost $17 trillion in debt. That's bigger than our gross domestic product. And that's an awful burden to saddle our children and grandchildren. It's also a burden that drags the economy down and redistributes wealth away from America to the rest of the world. Why? Because in the past, much of our debt was owed to other Americans. But now, a significant portion of our debt, about a third, is owed to foreigners. Our debt is owed to Kuwaitis and Saudis and Chinese, and so when we incur debt and have to pay it back, and at some point you have to pay, this is a transfer of hundreds of billions, in fact trillions of dollars, out of the United States and to other countries. My theory about Obama was that he wanted and wants global redistribution, and debt is a weapon of global redistribution. My second prediction is that Obama wants to shrink the influence of American foreign policy. This is not the unintentional effect of a blundering president. If you want that, you have to go to Jimmy Carter. When Jimmy Carter pulled the Persian rug out from the Shah of Iran, oops, he got Khomeini. He didn't know he was going to get somebody who would be congenitally hostile to American foreign policy, so he was surprised. But when Obama supports the Muslim Brotherhood, he knows that this is the oldest and most powerful organization of radical Islam in the world. He knows that the Muslim Brotherhood is trying to consolidate its power not only in Egypt, but throughout the Middle East. And yet, when the Muslim Brotherhood comes to power, Obama doesn't seem perturbed. In fact, he seems kind of excited. When the military pushes out the Muslim Brotherhood, Obama seems flummoxed. He doesn't really know what to do. Suddenly you've got guys who used to be allies with the United States, the Egyptian military, and what does Obama do? He cuts American aid to the military to antagonize those guys. It's almost like he's looking to take Egypt, which is a longtime ally, and make it into an enemy. Now you might say, wait a minute, Obama's, he couldn't help it. There was Tahrir Square, there were the students in the streets, America believes in democracy. Surely Obama has no choice but to support democracy in Egypt. But wait a minute, in 2009 there were massive pro-democracy demonstrations in Iran. Did Obama back the democracy movement? No, he opposed it. He in fact said, let's stay out. He said, let's leave things to, and I quote him, the supreme leader. The Iranian mullahs, they bring out the police, they beat up the protesters, and that's the end of the democracy movement in Iran. So there's a real double standard in Obama's treatment of Iran, where he opposed the democracy movement, and Egypt, where he supported it. Now, when an intelligent man does something that's contradictory, it's not because he's a fool, it's because he's up to something else. The difference between Iran and Egypt is that Iran is an adversary of the United States, and Obama seems to have no interest in weakening our adversaries, while he does seem to have an interest in weakening our allies. This double standard can be seen also in the way that Obama has treated Libya on the one hand and Syria on the other. So when there was an uprising in Benghazi under Gaddafi, Obama moves into action. He says there's genocide going on in Libya, we've got to stop it, we've got to use US airplanes, we need NATO, we essentially need to bomb Gaddafi into oblivion, we've got to get rid of the regime. And we did, using a massive display of military force. Now, how many people were killed in Libya by Gaddafi in this action that Obama calls genocide? It turns out approximately 250. Meanwhile, in Syria, over the past 2 years, there has been going on a real genocide in which there's a civil uprising against Assad, the dictator. Assad has been using chemical weapons and brutal force in the face of the world watching. And there have been people screaming for intervention. Obama has flatly refused. Not just tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in Syria. No intervention. Now, finally, Obama says, well, all right, we're going to work to stop chemical weapons in Syria. And even though we're stopping the chemical weapons, we're doing nothing to remove Assad from power. So the question then becomes again, why the double standard? Why intervene in Libya to stop, you may say, mini genocide, while not intervening to stop big genocide in Syria? Well, there's a simple answer to that. Gaddafi, the former dictator of Libya, was doing business with the United States. Now, I wouldn't say Gaddafi was an ally. He was actually a bad boy in the 70s and 80s. But after the invasion of Iraq, Gaddafi shaped up. He was outing terrorists. He helped to out the Pakistani A.Q. Khan. He was paying reparations to the families who were victims of terrorism. He paid reparations to the victims of the Lockerbie bombing. Gaddafi was behaving himself, and we got rid of him. Meanwhile, Assad is our deadly enemy. In fact, Assad is allied with the mullahs of Iran. Assad and Iran have been working together to undermine U.S. influence in the region. So if you were trying to find a consistent way to predict what Obama's doing in the Middle East, it's very simple. He's been undermining our allies, and he's been allowing our adversaries to remain in power. This is precisely what we predicted that he would do, and this is precisely what he is doing.
Teenagers across America are playing with a new and frightening game, Satanism. Their school books are marked up with satanic symbols, upside-down crosses, pentagrams, the number 666. Their fashions glamorize the demonic. They are seduced by heavy metal heroes, many of whom feature satanic imagery in their songs and album covers. For some of these young people, the fixation on violence, evil, and death leads them to commit abominable crimes, including suicide and human sacrifice. Joseph Beeson, 18, and Edward Bennett, 19, both raised in Mormon homes, drew blood from their own veins and mutilated animals in satanic rituals. But that wasn't enough, so they eventually killed 18-year-old Michelle Moore. Sean Sellers, 17, the youngest death row inmate in Oklahoma, brutally murdered his mother and stepfather because they tried to prevent his satanic rituals. Scott Waterhouse, 17, tortured and killed a 12-year-old girl in a grisly satanic slaughter. Pete Rowland, 17, formed a satanic cult with 3 other boys. After sacrificing a cat, they turned on Steve Newberry, the fourth member of their group, and beat him to death with baseball bats while chanting, "A sacrifice for Satan." Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was convicted of 13 murders and 30 other felonies. During the summer of 1985, he beat, strangled, raped, sodomized, shot, and slashed his victims in a rampage of sadistic satanic slayings. In the spring of '89, the dead bodies of 13 victims, one of whom was only 16 years old, were found mutilated and buried in a common grave near the American-Mexican border in Matamoros. This satanic drug-smuggling cult believed that sacrificing humans in bizarre rituals would give them magical protection. The victims had been dealt blows with a hammer, and some suffered horrible mutilations, including the removal of brains, hearts, and other organs that were then boiled in blood. For those of us who have been involved in cult and occult research over the years, these atrocious reports are unfortunately nothing new. They are only the tip of the iceberg. Because Satanism is by nature clandestine, it's hard to estimate the numbers of people involved. Not all satanic groups are involved in criminal behavior, but with increasing frequency, law enforcement agencies across North America and Western Europe are receiving similar reports of illegal activity. Satanically inspired child pornography and ritual abuse, animal mutilations, human sacrificial murder, cannibalism, rape, sodomy, desecration of graves and Christian churches are just some of the findings. Victims are from all walks of life. Their stories are grotesque and beyond human belief. The purpose of this video is not to over-sensationalize a hideous subject, but rather to inform you of a very real problem that is sweeping across our nation. What used to be hidden or secret is now arrogantly brandished in public by Satanists who recruit openly and display macabre graffiti and gruesome mutilations in public places. In this video, we wish to educate you and your family on how to protect yourselves from the effects of Satanism.